That's side C, 6.53.
Oh, boy.
With me so far? So I found, based on the formula they gave me angle C, so I used the C formula one. Next, I'm going to look for the biggest remaining angle. Which angle is that?
A.
A. How'd you know it was A, Tristan?
Because 11's the biggest side.
11's the biggest side. The biggest angle always is across from the biggest side. You learned that in geometry. So I'm looking for angle A next. That means I need to use the A formula. The A formula is A squared equals B squared plus C squared, because it follows the same pattern every time. There are three squareds. One's on the left, two are on the right, separated by a plus. It's always minus 2, and then whichever two letters you just wrote down come next. So B and C. And then the last thing is always the cosine, because that's why it's called the law of cosines. And then it's whatever letter was on the left side of the equation, which is letter A. You will see that when you plug all the things that you know in, there's only one thing left over. So let's start plugging some stuff in. So I start plugging the stuff in. My A was 11, so I have 11 squared. My B was 5, so I have 5 squared. My C is the thing that I just got done finding, so that's 6.53 squared. And then that's minus 2 times the 5 times the 6.53 that I just found times the cosine of angle A. Now, if I'm solving this thing for A, because I'm trying to find that angle, then what I need to do is to get the cosine alone first. In order to get that cosine alone first, I'm going to take the 5 squared, move it to the left. What happens to it? It becomes negative. I take the 6.53 and move it to the left. What happens to it? It becomes negative. So I now have 11 squared minus 5 squared minus 6.53 squared. What's still in front of the cosine? Negative 2 times 5 times whatever. So I'm just going to write that down. I still have negative 2 times 5 times 6.53 times the cosine of A. Sorry, I'm writing down the side, but I'm running out of room. I don't want that mumbo-jumbo crap there, so what am I going to do? Divide. So I divide both sides by whatever's in front of that stuff. So when I divide, I'm dividing the right side and the left side by negative 2 times 5 times 6.53. Negative 2 times 5 times 6.53. And now what you end up with is you end up with the cosine of A equals, and you're going to type this stuff into your calculator in the purple blob thing there. But you need to make sure that you put a parentheses around the numerator and a parentheses around the denominator. Because if you don't, you are not going to get the right number. The number that I get, and make sure you can get this as well, is negative 0.8172. Try it now. If this is the cosine of angle A, how would I find angle A itself? Hannah? Inverse. You have to inverse it to do it. So in order to find the actual angle A is going to be equal to the cosine inverse of that number, negative 0.8172. And that's really important to understand. When you find this, you find out that angle A is 144.81 degrees, I think, roughly. And so the big idea here is that you knew you need to take this stuff and inverse it to find the actual angle. So now in my problem, I found side C. That's great. I also found my angle A. So if I go back up here, and if I'm going to go to the nearest degree, don't go to the nearest degree, but I have space issues, so this is about 145 degrees. How would I find my last angle? Subtract from 180. So to find my last remaining angle, all I need to do is I need to come back over here and go 180 minus roughly 145 minus 20. And that's about 15 degrees, right? And this is equal to angle B. So my angle B is the last remaining angle, about 15 degrees. It's actually like 15.19 or something like that when you use the actual numbers that we had. But just to give you an idea of how it was found. Okay, so in number 2, the thing that's kind of weird about this problem is there are 3 sides. I'm going to draw that picture. So here's my 3-sided triangle. And I like the A on the left, my B on the top, and the C on the right. I don't really know why. They give me 3 sides, so A is 9, B is 7, C is 5. And now for a brave volunteer. Gray, thank you for volunteering. Gray, which angle should I find first? Why?
A.
Why?
Because it's the biggest.
That's right. Good job, Gray. Always find the biggest one first. Always. So I am going to find the biggest side angle combo, which in this case, since the biggest side is 9, that means the biggest angle is A. I'm looking for angle A first, because all I have to do in this problem is find 3 angles. So now, looking for that first angle A. I use the A formula, A squared, because I'm not as good as Alexis, so I didn't memorize the angle formulas. It equals B squared plus C squared minus 2BC times the cosine of angle A. This is the only one I know, but with the C first, and now I know it was the A because of the pattern. Then I start plugging crap in. So I plug stuff in, and I get, what was my A? 9 squared equals 7 squared plus 5 squared minus 2 times 7 times 5 times, I don't know what angle A is, so it's the cosine of A. And now I have a bunch of numbers. So I move the numbers that were squared to the left side, they both become negative. I divide by the crap that's in front of the cosine, and now when I have this all written out, what I see is that my 9 squared minus 7 squared minus 5 squared all over negative 2 times 7 times 5 will be equal to the cosine of angle A. If I divide all that out and solve it using the inverse, I should find out that A is equal to 95.74 degrees. So you can do this all in one fell swoop. You can type in second cosine, parentheses, parentheses, top crap, parentheses, divided by, parentheses, bottom crap, parentheses, parentheses, enter. Poof, out pops the angle in your calculator. If that doesn't make sense, take it one step at a time. Joe Green, after I find angle A, which is 95.74 degrees, which angle should I find next?
B. I like C.
B, very good. So I'm going to find angle B next. That means I'm going to use B squared equals A squared plus C squared minus 2AC cosine capital B.
Right.
I plug in the numbers. 7 squared equals 9 squared plus 5 squared minus 2 times 9 times 5 times the cosine of b.
Right.
Or in other words, the cosine of b
Thanks, man.
is equal to that 7 squared minus the 9 squared minus the 5 squared all over minus 2 times 9 times 5. Again, you can plug all this into your calculator and do the inverse all at once if you want to. If I find angle B, it's by doing the cosine inverse of this highlighted information here. So when I cosine inverse that, please stop that with the noise making. Thank you. I end up with an angle B of 50.7 degrees. Try that, make sure you can get it. Woo.
I did it right.
And then to find your last angle, of course, all you have to do is subtract from 180. So as you subtract from 180 to find angle C, you get 180 minus 95.74 minus 50.7, and you end up with angle C being 33.6 degrees.
Yeah.
So the two big ideas for today: law of cosines, or actually 6 formulas. You really only need to memorize one. It happens when you're given 2 sides or 3 sides in a triangle. Find the remaining pieces. And Heron's formula, square root of semiperimeter times the semiperimeter minus each of the sides. Semiperimeter means halfway around.